Now that was what I just spoke was the spirit side of it, of what they see it as. This is the part that actually happened for the human part. Because as you can tell from the talk about the undead. That's how you know I'm talking about the dead version, the spirits of the dead, of how they see it. Now, we're going to get to the human part to explain to you what exactly happened to Sandy and everything about all the blood and why it really happened. Now, it's going to scare the crud out of most of you. So this is going to be an 18 plus detail. You're not going to like to hear half of what's happened to Sandy here. She's a peaceful person, but whenever what happened to her, it's not going to be a pretty picture. So if you're a kid, 17 and under, does not want to hear this. Okay, let's get on to this whole situation. Now, this is an 18 plus, so TikTok may not allow me to tell everything on here, but I'm going to try to make it as child safe as possible and safe words. So, here's what happened. 12 years ago, this girl was attacked in a situation, give or take about 12 years. She was sold for drugs, basically, for drugs. Basically, drugs like Finalia, or whatever, however you pronounce it. Anyway, she was sold for drugs for paraphernalia. So that way, kids, don't listen to this. You don't want to pick up on drugs. Drugs are not good for you. Cut it off. It's not good for you. This is exactly why. So, what happened was she was sold for aneurysm, basically. They sold her while she was asleep to two paraphernalia addicts while she was sleeping, overdosed her and drugged her in her sleep, paralyzing her waist down to where she couldn't feel anything at all. But then she was picked up and cycled into the world, the living world, to where she was able to walk around again. But half of her body was paraphernalia, basically. They dosed her up so bad that her insides were churned over to the left and the right, where her insides could not move. She couldn't see, she couldn't move, and she couldn't feel. She passed out for 7 to 20 hours in between, give or take. So, when she passed out, they drugged her with something so high, paraphernalia, that your insides won't feel a damn thing at all. She was that paralyzed. And they tormented her in her sleep, telling her that she was a hateful BI, a terrible person, and did nothing right in life. They told her she was worthless, a worthless being of all mankind, and slapped her in the face a couple times, told her she was a shitty person, and beat on her multiple times, while cutting her open inside her ovaries and telling her she didn't need to have kids. So they messed up her inside so bad that it's been a problem to have kids the whole time, while they realized that they were the mess up. They didn't realize it till later on that they messed up and did it to her and not somebody else. See, they were getting mad at another person that looked like her. See, they were confused at the time. See, while they were doing this stuff, they thought she was somebody else. They completely thought she was somebody else. Coming to find out, she was not who they were expecting her to be. She was a peaceful person, a great conscience, and a good person. And they beat on her bad by stealing a child outside of her womb, cutting it out, and beating on the child as well. They tormented the child, and then they locked the child in a box and told it it wasn't worth shit, that its life was meaningless. Basically, throwing him in a little corporation of a box, making him feel selfless and unimportant in life. And we're on our way to go fucking take that child out of where they put the child. They put the child underneath the building of where they lived. It's only 30 feet underground. The child's about this big. And they beat on that child and tormented it while still alive. They took a fetus out of a woman while she was pregnant and didn't care at all about the woman's life when she did nothing wrong. She did absolutely nothing wrong. They are messed up in their head that the two guys hated her so much for no reason at all that they killed an innocent child for her. All because she was pregnant, because she was going to be a mother. They hated her and the child. And now we know why James Doug Coates and Skylar Breeding are two terrible men. They fucked up bad. That's their names. That's the legal names of the two that did it to her. And they made the child suffer badly. They told the child it was worthless, told him he was a piece of shit, told him he didn't deserve to live, and all that shit. And Debbie was a great boy, because whenever his soul came out of that baby, that soul came into Sandy's life and lived with her throughout the whole life, as far as we know, except the main soul. The main soul is still being tormented underground, being told that it's worthless because it was alive. Because they fucked up and were doing terrible things to her in her sleep. And they did worse. They did worse to her than that. They tormented her brain cells and told her she was a species of unknown species and all this stuff. When in the human itself, he was just saying she's a piece of garbage and a person that we don't care about. That's all they said. They were terrible men. They didn't give a fudge about her at all. They didn't care that she took care of them. They didn't care that she was a great person. They didn't care about nothing. She never even did anything wrong to them enough to deserve that. All she did was deal with a guy who was constantly out cheating with other women. And she thought she knew the truth, and he tried to say he didn't cheat when he did. And then later on, he finally admitted to it. And now he feels messed up in the head because he killed a child and he didn't care about it. So now everybody's gonna hate you, Doug Coates, and uh, yeah, that's his name. Doug Coates is his middle name. That's why he goes by. Yeah, figured that. And then Skylar Breeding, he's a piece of garbage too. Worked with him. He was acting like he was so in love with me at that time, and he didn't give two fudges about the child. He sat there and laughed about it the whole time the guy did it. He was laughing maliciously, maliciously. The whole time the guy was doing it, he was in on it. He wasn't part of helping it. He was part of killing it. He always pretended he loved her too. It was like fake love. Like whenever she brought him to his house, she was like just bringing him to the house. She wasn't being a bi or nothing. She just needed a place for us to go and thought that would work. And the guy hated her because she brought him around him. And it was stupid because, they just needed a place to go. And all she did was admit to a place that they needed to stay. People stayed with people all the time, paid rent and stuff. See, I was paying rent there, so it counted as a place to stay. So it wasn't for cheating or nothing like that. Dude, I don't love you either. I don't love anybody after what you did. She stopped loving because of this. You didn't tell us that part, you sick bastard. And you're just the soul connected to him. He fucked up. Coliata, you're the spirit. And the physical one is Coltita. And he's gonna feel stupid now that I know his energy. He didn't care about his own fucking kid.